What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television, and I want to thank all of you for stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing, all that beautiful YouTube stuff. I hope that today is the day that we earn your subscription. If so, you hit that red subscribe bar down below. The march to 500 subscribers continues, because only together can we go straight to the moon, baby. Today we're going to be talking about Daredevil, Episode 8, Isle of Joy. Now we're nearing the end game, so to speak, in the infamous words of Doctor Strange. This is basically the second to last episode. Next week's episode is the last episode of the season. And this was a very, very interesting, very well acted episode by the cast. We do see the return of Bullseye. We didn't see him since episode 1 of this very same season, and we learned some big information. But we start off. We're going to do a spotlight on Matt and Heather here, and on Wilson and Vanessa, because both couples are on a very different trajectory at the moment. After what happened with Muse, Heather and Matt were discussing Heather's feelings about it and saying that she didn't feel like she was saved by Daredevil. She feels like she saved herself. And that Daredevil and Muse were both children out there looking for their own, fulfilling their own selfish needs. Even though we know that Matt is Daredevil, he can't exactly, because then it would be like, why are you defending something that you're not really involved in or really know this person or whatever, so it's going to obviously put him in a position to have to explain himself or answer questions that he's not ready to answer. But as they're discussing that, Buck Cashman, Wilson Fisk's personal assistant, so to speak, comes to Matt's apartment and gives an invitation to Heather to the governor's ball. And of course, Buck is looking at Matt with a little swarmy look on his face, as if he knows the secret. And it confirms to Matt that Wilson was keeping tabs on them the whole time. Heather doesn't realize the type of man that Wilson Fisk can be, even though she did ask Vanessa if she felt safe in her relationship. But Matt is trying to explain to her that because of his past with Wilson, he's keeping tabs on them because that's just the type of man he is. And because of the whole morning of the vigilante conversation in this conversation, she kind of just started blowing it off. And we can certainly see the tension between her and Matt, and that this relationship is possibly on its way out, especially once the truth comes out, because these things usually do when it comes to girlfriends or boyfriends of superheroes. And it usually comes out. However, on the opposing side, we see Wilson and Vanessa growing their bond tighter, binding them even closer, because Wilson brings her to Red Hook and exposes that he's had her lover from the past in there, and that he's been not doing nice things to him. He even kind of at one point said, "I'm getting better," as if he's a kid getting caught in the cookie jar and like, "Oh, I only took 2 cookies this time." and um, of course we see the painting with Wilson's blood on it from when Daredevil and him had that one-on-one back at season 3 of the Netflix show. Um, so, we see these contrasting colors against each other. We especially see it at the governor's ball later on with Vanessa and Wilson's outfits. Vanessa's all dressed in red, Wilson is in white. Of course, bringing that color contrast once again. But ultimately, Wilson puts Vanessa in a position to either say, Wilson basically said it's going to be him or me, and left the gun on the table, and she chose Wilson and blasted her lover that she had while he was gone, and that was it. She confirmed once again that she's for Wilson and will stand by Wilson's side, and now basically rejuvenated their relationship through a trial of blood, and their relationship becomes stronger, and so it just winds up. That part winds up accumulating up to at the governor's ball. But before Matt makes his way to the mall, he goes back to his law firm where Kristen, his partner, confronts him about always having secret meetings with Cherry, the private investigator, and what's going on, because she knows that there's something off with him. And she promised that she'll find out, but Poindexter, aka Bullseye, is looking for Matt to talk to him in the prison. And so Matt because he specifically is looking for Matt. And we know that he knows Matt is Daredevil. So Matt goes and confronts him and basically asks him and demands what he, basically demanding answers from him on what he wants. And he wants to get out of there, and he'll let Matt know who is behind the shooting of Foggy, because he didn't just shoot Foggy and attempt to take out Karen just because that's what he wanted to do. He got asked to do that. He got hired to do that by somebody. And now, if Matt wants to know who it is, he has to help Poindexter. He has to help Bullseye. And Bullseye says, "Aren't you a good man? A good man would defend his greatest enemy." And these words come back later for Matt and his position on what happens with him at the end of the episode. But this infuriated Matt to the point where he winds up bashing Poindexter's face into the table like 2 or 3 times. And as the guards are coming in to take him out, because Matt told him that he did that to himself, Poindexter says, "Thank you, counselor," with a big smile on his face, and gets brought to the medical bay. Now, as he's getting stitched up, we see him messing around with something in his mouth, and we wind up finding out that it's his tooth. One of his teeth became loose, and he used that as a weapon to take out one of the guards. He got his hands free and took out the doctor, and was able to escape prison. Now, throughout this episode, we see Bullseye have a shade of blue around him when he's in his state of mind, when he's in his Bullseye state of mind. We see earlier with his looking over the prison garden of blue roses there. And then when he took out the guard and the doctor, the lighting becomes blue. So that's kind of his like color, like Matt's color is red. So basically, then he is on his way to take out Wilson because he thinks that Wilson was the one that set him up to do the job, and then because also he got put into General Pop in prison, which means that being he was an ex-federal agent, the people in jail or a prison aren't going to be too kind on him, and this was a way of trying to take him out in prison. But we wind up finding out that wasn't really Wilson at all, like Matt thought. That was behind Poindexter and the killing of Foggy and all that. It was really Vanessa who set this whole thing up because there was a court case that she was going to lose against Foggy, and the only way to win was for her to hire someone to take out Foggy. And now Matt knows this, and Wilson doesn't know this. Poindexter doesn't know this. But what winds up happening at the governor's ball as Matt is dancing with Vanessa telling her that he knows everything, he hears Bullseye cock his gun and hears the bullet sliding in and getting ready to be shot. And when he lines up Wilson Fisk to shoot him, Matt winds up jumping in the way of the bullet and getting shot in the chest. Excuse me. And he's just laying there now in a pool of his own blood with Heather holding him and crying out for help and everyone scattering to save their lives. With one more episode to go, there's going to be a lot more questions to answers to be questioned, more questions waiting for answers, all that stuff. What's going to wind up happening with Bullseye? What's going to wind up happening to Matt, to Wilson, to all of this? It's going to be interesting. If this is how episode 8 ended, I can only imagine how episode 9 ends. I'm assuming we're going to get a Punisher cameo again, in which Matt and him go nuts on the Punisher cops. I don't know. We shall only see, but I want your thoughts down below on how you think this particular season is going to end. I will say that I'm glad that they brought the original group back that ran the show back on Netflix, because you can kind of see how wonky some of the pacing was from some of the episodes to the episodes that basically you could tell which creative team scenes were being shown throughout the season because of some of the way it looks and some of the subject matter. You could tell that, you know, episode 1 and these 2 later episodes, episode 8 and 9, were the ones that were primarily done. Well, the beginning of episode 1, I should more say, were the ones that were primarily done by the newer, aka old, production crew taking over, while the newer one that did the earlier episodes were okay, but you should have just brought back the original team that did the show on Netflix, but just my opinion. Alright guys, like I said, let me know down below what your thoughts are on the show, and until next time, peace, Nickums.